If you've ever thought, yep, the AI trade is locked and loaded, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. We have an absolutely jam-packed show for you here today. I know I've been saying that Wednesday is going to be the biggest day of this week for the market, and that was true, as we saw last night, but today is going to be the biggest day for the show. We have multiple guests here today. We obviously need to cover the Micron earnings for yesterday. We've got futures in the green here today, and it is the penultimate day of the week. We also have the U.S. soccer team playing tonight, so that's really exciting. Huge day here today. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Thursday edition for June 25th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces on this wonderful Thursday. And it looks like here in Chicago, the rainstorms that we were battling yesterday have blown out. And it is nice and sunny here. And the markets are green too. So things are looking pretty good at the moment. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Kelly is first. Good morning. I hope you are well. Kelly, I am well. I hope that you are well, and everyone in your sphere is well also. Free Diddy tomorrow. Good morning, all. Good morning to you. Welcome back. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Peter, good morning. Francis, good morning. It looks like we had a little bit of a repeat there. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Derek, good morning. Yes, that girl, good morning. Zach McCracken, good morning. And good morning to the Benzie gang, indeed. Derek reminding us Wendy's approaching 9 again. Wendy's possible short squeeze. We talked about that yesterday. Looks like that's kind of what we're getting here, huh, Derek? Let me know what your trade plan is for that, if any. Potji, good afternoon. It's great to see you again. Durkus, welcome back. Lion Atlas. I know the lion is roaring today. That is for sure. Good morning. You're waiting? Well, we're going to cover it here pretty soon. It was Lions Day yesterday. Micron traded up, QCOM traded up, and Morocco ended up winning. Lion, you better be in a good mood today. Best behavior today. You have nothing to complain about. Just saying. Good morning and welcome back. It's great to see you. Linda, good morning. Welcome back. Daniel, good morning. Welcome back. Good day to be on the balcony? No, I'm going to be in my office. I got a little battle station here. As much as I love my MacBook, trading and running the show from the balcony, not in the cards, my friend. Producer, welcome back. It's always great to see you. AC, good morning. Welcome back. Edro, good morning. Welcome back. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Chuck, good morning. Unpopular Truth, good morning. Carlos, good morning. Ed, good morning. Marionette, welcome back. Great to see you. Up 30, good morning. Cam, good morning. Futures, Kevin. Whoa. Smash up the like for Futures, Kevin. We miss you too, Kev. Hope all is going well in your corner of the world. Thanks for joining us. Kev, do you have any levels on the ES today for trade? If you do, throw them in the chat. Would love to hear that. It's good to see you again. Richard, good morning. Welcome back. Reaching Financial Freedom, good morning. Welcome back. Harlugo, good morning. Welcome back. Amazing day for you. Every day that I wake up and take a breath is an amazing day. Just stay blessed. But also, given all the other stuff that's happening here with Micron and AI, yeah, it's good. It's not bad. Just passing through. Good morning. Welcome back. Robot to Trade. Good morning. Welcome back. Vivian. Good morning. Welcome back. Canap. Good morning. Welcome back. A friend referred Ryan's Son by David Lean. I'm sure you've heard of it. I haven't. Is it a book? Let me know how it is. What's the plot? Or what's it about, I guess I should say. Nonetheless, welcome back. Stab, I guess I'm just going to call you Stab Row Market. Stab, we'll go with that. Hello and good morning. Bruce, great to see you again. Welcome back. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures are in the green here today, and oil is lower again. How about that? S&P futures up 0.65%. The Dow futures trading higher by 0.12%, and the Nasdaq, as you can imagine, absolutely leading the way higher by 2.13% on the back of those absolute blowout Micron earnings. And again, oil's down here 0.87%. So that's actually below that $70 price point. Now, let's take a look at some cues from last session here. Go ahead and share this chart here, or share this screen here. Most sectors on the S&P 500 closed on a positive note, with utilities, industrials, and consumer discretionary stocks recording the biggest gains on Wednesday. However, energy and information technology stocks closed the session lower. U.S. stock futures rose on Thursday as the Dow, Nasdaq, and S&P 500 indices rose following Wednesday's mixed close. Investors are awaiting Thursday's release of the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, which serves as the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge, at least for now. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent aimed at the Federal Reserve's forecasting methods, declaring that the central bank's interest rate dot plots are, quote, always wrong, end quote, due to institutional groupthink. Speaking on CNBC, Bessent fully endorsed Fed Chair Kevin Warsh's decision to eliminate forward guidance, arguing the economy can achieve high growth without triggering inflation. He also unveiled a comprehensive 3-through-3 economic blueprint designed to sustain high GDP growth while neutralizing structural inflation. The 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.41%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.15%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projection showed that the market's pricing a 65.8% likelihood of the Federal Reserve leaving the current interest rates unchanged during the July meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the first one is an obvious one. It is going to be Micron Technology, ticker MU. It surged a whopping 17.2% in the pre-market on Thursday after it posted better than expected financial results for the third quarter of fiscal 2026 and issued strong guidance for the current quarter. More to come here on Micron. The next stock on our list is going to be Qualcomm, and the ticker is QCOM. It soared 12% as it raised its long-term outlook at the 2026 Investors Day, projecting $40 billion in non-handset revenue by fiscal 2029, including more than $15 billion from data centers, $14 billion from Internet of Things, and $10 billion from the automotive business. The company also said it was targeting more than $18 in adjusted earnings per share by fiscal 2029. The next stock on our list is Wendy's, ticker WEN, and it advanced 12.98% as the fast food chain attracted significant attention from retail investors, driven by high short interest and speculation of a potential takeover. Discussions on platforms like Reddit's Wall Street Bets further fueled the stock's momentum. The next stock on our list is going to be H.B. Fuller, and the ticker is FUL. It fell 2.48% despite posting upbeat earnings for the second quarter and raising its fiscal year 2026 earnings outlook. It also announced its offer to acquire Advanced Medical Solutions. The last stock on our list is going to be AMD, and the ticker is AMD. It rose 3.75% after UBS analyst Timothy R. Curry reiterated a buy rating on AMD and raised the price target to $670 from $455, and he cited CPU momentum. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart. Fam, we did it. We did it. We did what we were calling for, at least so far. We came back in. It did look like the inability to recapture the 20-day moving average, which was the purple line on the chart there, meant we were probably going to probe an area lower, and lo and behold, it did exactly what our lines told us it would do. We came in. We did print the 50-day moving average, and we did hold it. And now, on the back of those Micron earnings and the green arrows here in the market, led by the Nasdaq, we are starting to curl back up. Your key levels here today, that's going to be an easy one. 732.52 is going to be your 50-day moving average. That is going to be a key level, whether we're above it or below it. The only question is whether that or not that's going to be support or resistance. We also have resistance here at the 744.55 level. Furthermore, and I'm just eyeballing it here, it does look like we have a gap fill that would also take place if we test that 744.55. So we're currently sitting here at 738. 744 would be a pretty big move up, or a nice move up if we end up getting it. We'll see how far we go there. But these are the two levels that I'm looking at. We've been contained between the 20 and the 50. Today's action, at least so far, looks like we're going to probe an area higher here. We'll see how some of these stocks trade when the market actually opens, or when the New York session opens here. But all signs go at the moment right now. Really good stuff. Now let's take a look at some insights from analysts. Then we'll break down those Micron earnings before we get to our guests here today. We'll start with the insights from analysts here. The co-head of global fixed income at Wells Fargo, Luis Alvarado, highlights that, quote, the era of central banks driving bond markets is giving way to a more market-driven investment landscape, end quote. The shift is heavily influenced by inflation uncertainty, government borrowing needs, and shifting investor demand. Regarding the broader economic environment and policymaking, Alvarado notes that the Federal Reserve Chair Kevin Warsh is, quote, rethinking how it communicates with markets, end quote. The Fed appears increasingly comfortable letting investors interpret the data for themselves and allowing market signals to play a larger role in policymaking, again, end quote. Consequently, Alvarado cautions that market participants must adapt to a new economic reality. As central bank intervention recedes, he explicitly warns investors to, quote, expect more volatility than we saw during much of the QE era, end quote. So he's saying that things are going to change, be ready for it, but not necessarily a bad thing. Real quick, just a quick peek at some of the economic numbers. May's durable goods data, the third estimate of the first quarter GDP, initial jobless claims for the week ending June 20th, and May's personal income, consumer spending, headline, and core PCE data will all be released here at 8:30. That is 19 minutes from now. Producer, as always, if we're in the middle of news or if we're bringing on a guest, please scroll that across the screen. I'll do my absolute best to report those numbers as soon as I can for you folks, but I'm sure you're watching them anyway. All right, let's talk about Micron. Let's talk about, in fact, you know what we'll do? We'll actually start with the chart here on Micron. Might as well, right? Let's go back here. MU. Here's what we got today. Yep, break to new all-time highs. So again, thing with Micron here in the chart, that 20-day, every test of the 20-day to the downside has been a buy spot. has been a buy spot. And Lion, this is where your call comes into play. You have been pounding the table on Micron, buying it off the dips, and you are being rewarded here. The stock is 200 points above the 20-day moving average overnight. Just an absolute massive report here. A lot of good stuff from this. And I think one of the big takeaways here, we're going to see in a little bit, one of the big takeaways here is that the AI trade is full on. It is not slowing down. We are in the early innings of this. It is not going anywhere, at least according to Micron. Now let's take a look at the actual report itself and then some thoughts on where Micron is right now. Micron Technology, or ticker MU, surged over 17% in the pre-market trading on Thursday after the memory chip maker reported fiscal third quarter results that topped Wall Street expectations and issued stronger than expected fourth quarter guidance. Micron reported adjusted earnings of $25.11 per share, and that beat the analyst consensus estimate of $20.78 per share, and they did that on revenue of $41.46 billion. Adjusted gross margin was an unbelievable 84.9%. And for the fiscal fourth quarter, the company forecasted adjusted earnings of about $31 per share on revenue of approximately $50 billion. CEO Sanjay Mehrotra said Micron's multi-year strategic customer agreements are expected to improve the durability and predictability of the company's financial performance. Following the earnings release, Susquehanna analyst Mehdi Hosseini told CNBC that Micron's earnings beat and outlook underscore the premium customers are paying for DRAM and NAND used in AI server infrastructure. Hosseini noted that Micron's fourth quarter earnings guidance of about $31 per share was well above the consensus estimate of roughly $25, reflecting continued price strength driven by what he describes as the memory wall. He said customers, quote, have no choice but to pay a premium, end quote, and expects that trend to persist despite concerns the cycle may be nearing its peak. That's the $64,000 question. Hosseini also said the current memory cycle differs from previous ones because Micron continues to generate positive free cash flow despite elevated capital expenditures. He identified the expected transition from AI training to inference workloads in 2028 and the potential easing of restrictions on Chinese memory producers Yangtze Memory Technologies and Changxin Memory Technologies as longer-term risks. Requisite Capital's Bryn Talkington told CNBC that Micron's improving fundamentals support additional upside following the earnings report. She cited accelerated earnings growth, tight memory supply, sustained AI demand, and increasing investor attention on capital spending and long-term customer agreements as key drivers. Talkington also pointed to elevated option activity and higher call option premiums, saying they suggest investors are positioning for further gains rather than a period of consolidation. That's what we see on a regular basis, too. Before the earnings release, Sylvant Capital Chief Investment Officer Michael Sansortera told CNBC that investors were focused on whether the current memory cycle represents a structural change or simply reflects short-term momentum. Sansortera said demand continues to outpace supply, supporting pricing, but the key question is how long that imbalance will persist as additional capacity comes online. One thing to look at is how long is it going to take for new capacity to come online. He added that Micron's valuation will depend on its ability to maintain strong margins, particularly operating margins. While he expected a solid quarter and favorable guidance, he cautioned that lofty expectations following the stock's strong rally could make it difficult to satisfy short-term investors. Ahead of the results, Evercore ISI analyst Amit Daryani told CNBC investors should closely watch Micron's gross margins and updates on 2027 memory capacity allocations. Daryani said gross margins in the 40 to 80% range would indicate whether pricing remains healthy, while commentary on future capacity commitments could provide insight into the longevity of the AI-driven cycle. He added that robust capital spending by major technology companies continue to support demand for the likes of Micron, SanDisk, which is ticker SNDK, and Western Digital, ticker WDC. Notably missing from that list is Seagate, ticker STX. According to Dariani, investors are no longer debating whether the memory upcycle exists, but rather how much of the long-term AI opportunity has already been priced into memory stocks. He also said memory manufacturers must demonstrate that they can sustain stronger earnings and build more durable business models beyond the current cycle. So, I mean, it's just an absolutely whopping report here for Micron. And I think the comments here about where we are in the cycle is really going to be the important part. I mean, the margin numbers that we got from this were absolutely insane. Operating margins of above 80%, gross margin of 84.86%. That has me wondering if we're at peak pricing environment, right? Those margin levels are simply not sustainable. But the $64,000 question here is, how long are they going to be able to do this? Capacity is booked through 2028, maybe even 2029. And we'll see if that creeps into 2030. So how long can they continue to put up these amazing numbers? That's the question. In the meantime, though, the thing is absolutely gangbusters. Now, I know the question here is, well, can I chase it? Is Micron expensive? Is it cheap? There are some people out there saying Micron is still cheap post-earnings. How $100 billion in contracts is making cyclical skeptics, quote, offsides. So we're going to bring you both sides of this. I'd be very curious to know how you folks are trading this. I know the folks that you trade this back and forth all the time. That's one thing, but has this changed the outlook for anybody? Anyway, next story here. Wall Street analysts are declaring cyclical skeptics completely offsides following Micron's structural shift towards $100 billion in secure contracts. That's a move that proves the stock is, quote, still cheap, end quote, even after soaring to record highs. Tech investors are completely reassessing Micron's valuation. Gary Black pointed out that despite the stock's pre-market spike, the shares are still cheap, trading at just 9x a 2027 adjusted EPS of $135. Futurum Equity's Shea Ballure echoed this sentiment, stating that the massive $100 billion contract shift means the traditional cyclical commodity label is now totally offsides. Ballure emphasized that customers are effectively absorbing the downside cyclical risk. Deepwater Asset Management's Gene Munster added that hyperscaler demand shows, quote, no end in sight, end quote, predicting that their CapEx growth could hit 40 to 60% next year, crushing the street's 22% expectation. Munster noted that Micron extending its supply tightness warning to, quote, beyond 20, quote, proves that the industry simply cannot keep up with AI infrastructure needs. The catalyst for this re-rating is 16 new strategic customer agreements. These multi-year take-or-pay contracts lock in roughly $100 billion in cumulative revenue. By agreeing to minimum contract pricing and upfront cash deposits, buyers are ensuring supply assurance for AI workloads. This structural shift guarantees gross margins well above previous peaks, fundamentally altering Micron's historical boom and bust narrative. It's different this time, evidently. This strategic evolution was paired with a massive fiscal third quarter beat. Micron reported $41.5 billion in revenue and an elite 84.9% gross margin. Fourth quarter guidance was even stronger, projecting $50 billion in revenue with margins accelerating to 86%. And as memory transitions from a low-value component to a scarce, highly critical strategic asset, analysts overwhelmingly agree that the AI memory supercycle is just beginning its long-term run. So again, and if you want to go through this article, which actually has some of the videos of people talking about this, I encourage you to do that. Basically saying that we are still at the very, very beginning of this. There effectively is room to run. It's massive. I see as several of you folks we're trading this here. This is awesome. It's awesome to see you guys making some money off of this. Go Steve D says it's hard to see it as cheap when I have it at $79. Hey man, don't those really good really good entries, it's hard to give it up. It's hard to give it up, and it's hard to rebuy something when it's $800 when you first bought it at $79. Okay. Next story here. An exclusive. Trump's Intel push won't kill Taiwan Semiconductor. I don't think anyone is worried about Taiwan Semiconductor. I mean, I know I'm not. The world's indispensable backbone still remains a buy. So we just talked a little bit about Micron. Let's take a look at TSMC here. Well, 8 minutes until we get the data there and before we go to our first guest here. So we'll get that done here pretty soon. President Trump's aggressive push to make Intel, ticker INTC, the champion of America's chip making has sent the company's stock soaring. But the resulting security first era isn't a warning sign for Taiwan Semiconductor, ticker TSM. Despite production deals with Apple, ticker AAPL, and a $43 billion government stake in Intel, analysts argue this is a shift towards a dual sourcing supply chain, meaning TSM retains its crown as the indispensable backbone of global AI and remains a crucial buy for investors. Technology strategist Luke Lango, publisher of Innovation Investor, has skin in the game on both sides of the geopolitical divide. In his portfolio, Lango currently holds a massive 357.2% gain on TSM, having originally bought the stock for $96 on November 13th, 2023. Does that sound familiar, Steve? Simultaneously, he has secured a 162.04% profit in his Intel position, which he purchased at $50.24 on February 9th of this year, with the stock closing at $131.65 on Wednesday. Because he profits from both, Lango offers a pragmatic view of Intel's highly publicized 18AP risk production node. He notes that while Intel's technological progress is real, Apple targeted 15 to 20 million units of Intel's architecture, and it's merely a fraction of what TSM handles globally. Quote, "This is not a secular decline for TSM. It's the beginning of a healthy dual sourcing dynamic driven by geopolitical necessity." Goes on to say, "I'm bullish on both. Intel is the high beta national champion trade. TSM remains the indispensable backbone of the entire AI supply chain. You don't sell your picks and shovels because someone just opened a second mine." Dean Chen, an analyst at Betunix Exchange, echoes Lango's assessment. He views Intel's re-rating as a broader structural shift in the semiconductor industry, moving from an efficiency-first model towards a security-first model. However, he stresses that this does not equate to a rapid migration from Taiwan. Quote, "The more realistic scenario is not a transition from 100% TSM to 100% Intel, but rather from a single source model to a dual source model," end quote. He goes on to say, large technology companies are seeking greater resilience against geopolitical risk, making selective capacity allocation to US-based manufacturing strategically attractive. That is fundamentally different from replacing TSM as the industry's primary advanced foundry partner. TSM's competitive advantages extend far beyond the leading edge process. According to Chen, its manufacturing scale, production yields, and deeply integrated advanced packaging capabilities remain extremely difficult for Intel to replicate overnight. While TSM's dominance is secure, Intel's domestic status has fundamentally changed. The U.S. government's 9.9% passive stake, now sitting on roughly $43 billion in unrealized gains, represents a massive paradigm shift in the American industrial policy. Lango describes this move as acquisition Americana, the U.S. government buying equity in the assets it needs to win the AI race. Quote, "You don't let a national infrastructure asset go bankrupt. Full stop," end quote. Chen agrees that government ownership reduces long-term visibility concerns and creates a, quote, "confidence floor," end quote, under Intel stock. However, both analysts warn that Intel's massive year-to-date rally brings immediate valuation risks. Quote, "The risk isn't that the story is fake. It's that the market is now pricing perfection on a turnaround that is still losing money at the foundry level," end quote. Lango cautioned that, adding that investors should prepare for a bumpier ride ahead. Ultimately, Trump's semiconductor push has successfully drafted Intel as the U.S.'s national champion. But as the dust settles, the undeniable reality is that the global AI boom is too massive for just one foundry, leaving TSM firmly entrenched as the industry's indispensable backbone. And again, from the Micron earnings, seeing that the AI trade is absolutely locked on and we are going to continue this here, I don't think TSM's going anywhere. And the unbelievable demand that we're seeing for chips and all the components of chips, that does not seem to be slowing down even a little bit. And as a result, I think there's going to be lots and lots of really good stuff for TSM ahead. You know, I think back to when 13 showed that interactive map, TSM was connected to nearly every node of that map. So another good one there. Really good job by our team to get that interview going. Okay, let's take a look at the time. So I might have had a little too much coffee here today because I ran through that a little bit quicker than I thought. But we're still waiting on the data print there that we're expecting here this morning. It actually comes out in less than 2 minutes. But I think what we should do is bring our guest on and say good morning. Producer, I'm going to lean on you for alerting me or scrolling that data print when it comes out. So let's just be ready for that. Let's be ready for that. In the meantime, let's go ahead and bring on our guest, Kevin Davitt from the CBOE. Kevin, good morning. Thanks for waking up with us again. How you doing?
My pleasure. I am doing well. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing really good. We've been following this AI trade for a long time. We've got a lot of folks here in our community that are big on Micron. We had several folks playing it for the earnings report last night. And as you can imagine, by looking at it today, there's a lot of smiles across the board here. So I'm extremely happy to have you back here. I understand that you have some content for us today.
I do, but I'm happy. I was tuned in before I went live, and I think you've done an excellent job of covering the earnings.
Okay.
It's not every 3 months we make $50 billion, right? That was a little bit better than my personal quarter. But
mine too.
So 2 things. I am coming from Nasdaq. I spent years at SIBO. And the way I tend to look at the market is through the lens of broad-based indices, of which Micron has become an increasingly influential name. And I think as we move into the end of the quarter, it gives us sort of a natural opportunity to look back and think about how we got here. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of the intro. Hopefully, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. Let me just make sure I share the proper screen. Apologies, this isn't the best. Okay, I got it. Here we go.
And actually, while you're bringing that up here, let me just go ahead and read the data that we've been waiting for. We'll also scroll it across the screen. We don't have to spend too much time on it. U.S. core durable goods orders month over month for May, 1.3% versus the 5/10 estimate. U.S. core PCE price index year over year for May, 3.4 versus the 3.4 estimate. That was in line. U.S. PCE price index year over year for May, 4.1 versus the 4.1 estimate. The prior read was 3.8. Personal spending month over month for May, 0.7 versus the 0.6 estimate. U.S. core PCE price index month over month for May, in line, 0.3 versus the 0.3 estimate. Durable goods orders minus 4.5% versus the minus 5% estimate. That number's not bad either. U.S. GDP quarter over quarter for Q1, 2.1% versus a 1.6% estimate. Core PCE prices for Q1, 4.4 versus 4.4. That was in line. The prior read was 2.7. Continuing jobless claims, 1,821 versus 1,800. And what else am I missing here? U.S. PCE prices for Q1, 4.6 versus the 4.5 estimate. There's a whole bunch of data there. Sorry for breaking your stride. Producer, if you can scroll those across the screen, that'd be fantastic.
You didn't break my stride at all. You made me think that maybe you could have a future in announcing horse racing. That was really good.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, horse racing's not my forte. Get me behind the microphone for a hockey game, and I'll show you some magic.
All right, I could get that too. I would just like to confirm that the audience is able to see this look at NASDAQ 100 and S&P. Yep, great. Thank you for that. So my sort of lead-in was end of quarters being a natural point to look back. And I think it's really interesting to see kind of the mirror images, Q1 versus Q2. So hopefully I broke that up a little bit here visually. But if we think back to the end of March, broad markets were just off lows. The Nasdaq 100 on March 30th was down somewhere in the neighborhood of 9% year to date. S&Ps were like 7.5%. We have seen an absolute about face as far as price is concerned, and that has been driven, as your audience knows full well, by this sort of leg higher in the broader AI trade. But one of the elements that I think intrigues longer-term passive investors is the fact that volatility is a non-directional measure. And the Nasdaq 100 tends to exhibit considerable upside volatility. And we have seen that on display very, very meaningfully in Q2 this year. So if you look at just the quarter to date, the Nasdaq 100 is up something like 27%, whereas the S&Ps are up 13%. That is a significant performance discrepancy. And that leads me naturally to kind of think, what drives that outperformance? The two indices are over long time frames, more than 90% and often 95% correlated. So when you look at the contribution to return in the broad market this quarter, it's been driven by technology. You're highlighting one of the primary drivers in Micron this morning, but names like Intel you mentioned, NVIDIA is always going to be front and center. So I looked at the tech sector and the primary drivers of overall quarter to date, so I'm focused on Q2 exclusively, returns in NDX and SPY. And I looked at names like Micron was a huge driver of NDX performance this quarter, drove 4.27% of the overall 22.5% gains in the tech sector. Now that compares to 1.3% in the S&Ps and 9.2% overall. Then on the right-hand side, what I'm showing is the relative weighting, and it is greater in each ticker's case in the Nasdaq 100. Mm-hmm. So really what's being distilled, whether you look at a significantly more meaningful weighting in Micron or AMD or Intel and slightly greater weightings in the kind of the traditional M7 names, which really have underperformed this quarter, that is what drives the returns for Nasdaq 100 investors. Now, moving on from that point, if I can get my visual to move, as you know, and perhaps some of the audience knows, my primary focus is on the risk management tools and the continued growth of NDX options. And really, long story short, the short story here is this market continues to grow. NDX options, quarter over quarter growth just continues unabated. And what we're seeing in terms of volumes, in my estimation, speaks to a growing focus on the exposure that the Nasdaq 100 affords for the reasons that I just outlined, for slightly greater exposure to the names that are really capturing investor attention here and now. I'm not sure exactly how much your audience focuses on sort of overwriting or protection using options, but the world has really caught on to the flexibility of these tools, and the world is increasingly focused on relatively short-dated exposures. So when you think about earnings and a name like Micron this morning, or what we've seen over the past handful of weeks as far as earnings, because we're very much at the tail end now, that drives interest in broad market risk management. Now, the one other element, and this brings the story kind of full circle, is that this sort of Nasdaq 100 outperformance is absolutely nothing new. We're going back all the way to the financial crisis here. And I think if we include, like if we considered 2026 returns full year to date, this would be the 15th out of 19 years of full year NDX outperformance. This is not flash in the pan. Now, just recapping my sort of big picture belief is that investors understand, or increasingly are understanding, that volatility is a non-directional metric. It influences the pricing and opportunity in the option markets, and it can drive returns both on the downside and on the upside. And I think that we are seeing that really play out in spades, whether it's over the past quarter or if you look at a longer term time horizon. What kind of take do you have on the way I'm looking at the world, Ryan?
I have a very similar. I mean, my thought on this is that technology has been the big driver of everything for decades, right? So it might feel like it's new, but it's not actually new. And you know what else? We actually talked about this yesterday. This happens to be just very timely. We talked about Google being added to the Dow 30 and removing Verizon. And it almost seems like the Dow, a traditionally more industrial indice, is actually adding more technology in here. So, more technology to it. To me, it seems like tech is really where this is all at. This is the big driver of all of the U.S. markets.
I couldn't agree more. In no small part, that motivated me to make the type of index move that I made professionally. But that terminology, right? Using that term technology, there is now such gradient within that, because we can talk about software, which is broadly going to fall under that umbrella, but it has significantly underperformed. And then there's elements within it, right? Just in a similar vein, in the 1980s, we could have talked about energy and the significant role it played in the overall economy. But there's nuance within that, whether you're a driller, a refiner, or some pipeline company. And the same dynamic has been playing out, I like the way you said that, for decades in technology writ large. So I think people have really understood that umbrella term encompasses a whole lot, and there's opportunity within that at the subsector level. And we are certainly seeing that play out in the semi and kind of broader AI infrastructure trade. And this morning is no different. The one sort of last point I would make is that typically the options markets are pretty good at forecasting earnings related moves. And so I'm in the habit, whether you trade options or not, of looking at the short dated at the money option straddle. And last night, that Micron straddle was pricing an up down range right around 12.5%. And at least at this point in the morning, we're up somewhere in the neighborhood of 17%. So there are opportunities if you have, some conviction to shape an options exposure to maybe offset that at the index level. And increasingly, people are understanding that power.
Yeah, it's funny. We were actually watching the Micron earnings on the after hours show that I run for Benzinga Pro subscribers. And we focused on that. We focused on it having about a 12% implied move by the options. And when the print first came out, it kind of traded up like 7.5%. Yep. And I was thinking to myself, and I was even talking to the group, I was like, this is a really, really good report, but this is going to be important because market was forecasting more of a move. You got blowout earnings, guide higher, ridiculous margin numbers out of this report, and it's not going to that. And then you just wait a little bit more, wait 15 more minutes, bang, 12%, then 15%. And as you said here, we're actually holding higher by 17.25% here in the pre-market. So, it's been fun. And the other thing is, you just talked about conviction. The technology trade seems to be where the most conviction lies. And I'm just thinking about our group here, which trade technology stocks every single day. Micron, there have been a few people in here that have been pounding the table on Micron for days, even in the midst of a sell-off here. And now you end up getting that reward. So let me ask you,
just vindicated.
Let me just ask you a really quick question. It's kind of off the cuff here. I'm just thinking about it. Does the importance and the weighting and all of this kind of congestion in tech, does that worry you at all for some event in the future? In other words, are you worried that there's just too much concentration in tech in general, or is it just that's the way the world's going?
I think that's a fair question. And you're certainly not alone in wondering that. I ask it myself again. I go back to the point that I made about that catch-all term, right? We have seen a name like Microsoft get hammered, Adobe, names that historically have played a bigger role in an index like the Nasdaq 100. But indexing, my belief is, works generally because it rewards winners and then cuts underperformers and adds names that are up and coming. So I think that recipe is one that can be difficult for even disciplined equity investors to do on their own. It can be difficult to add to a winner and to cut something that you've been looking at, like a red number on your screen. Indices do that natively. Big picture, I am old enough and bald enough to know that this will come to an end at some point. And margins will compress and the narrative will change. The point there is that I think people understand the power of index options in that case. When the story moves from idiosyncratic, name-specific, Micron, AMD, whatever, to a broader sell-off, the power of index options, particularly in those instances when correlations increase, can be very, very dramatic. And so I'm not saying you can have it both ways, but there are tools that allow you to remain invested. And if and when that sea change happens, to not totally be a victim of that downside volatility.
Okay. Awesome stuff here, Kev. Look, I really appreciate this. And also you came with content ready to go. You're making my job easy here. I
don't know when you sleep, so anytime you would like to chat about this stuff, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. We look forward to having you back on. Yeah, I was sending Kevin a message pretty late last night, at halftime of the soccer game. Actually, I was responding to emails, and here we are early this morning. Kevin, we really appreciate all of the insights here. I look forward to bringing you back. This is great stuff.
I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right. Kevin Davitt, the Nasdaq Index Options NDX content. Thank you, Kevin. We'll catch you next time. All right, really good stuff there. Technology, look, it is the big driver. It has been for a long time. This is why so many people are into it all of the time. It is not slowing down by any means at all. And I think that report last night kind of shows that. Now, let's see. What do we got here for time? So 7:45. Okay, really quickly, let me go back to Pro here. Let me go ahead and throw my screen back up here. We do want to take a look at the SPY. We'll do that real quick. I've got one more story here that I want to get to. And don't worry, folks. We have another guest coming up. Here shortly, and y'all are already talking about it here in the chat. I promised you a loaded show. You will get a loaded show. Bet on that. Now, looking at the SPY, let's take a peek inside. Here's what happened when we got our PCE print today. S&P futures are trading higher here. They're higher by 0.8%. They are near the pre-market highs. So one thing to take a look at here, I think 739.5 to 740 is going to be a key level here today. We'll see if we can actually punch above that. But with that print, right as we had our first guest on, things are looking good so far. Okay, one more news story here, I think, and then actually I might have a street tweet for you as well, and then we will get to our next guest here. I am so excited. We're also going to have 13. Don't worry, we didn't bump him. He's coming too. We got a lot of stuff to do here today. But let's get back to this other story that I have here for you. This one is going to be on Anduril. Now, from the Nissan Leaf to military drones, Anduril eyes a shuttered Japan factory. Before we dive into this, I wanted to ask people: are there still folks waiting for Anduril. I know I'm very excited about this. I could have sworn that there were a number of folks in here that were also excited about this. Let me know. Are you waiting for the Anduril IPO? And if so, are you looking to trade that? Speaking of technology, by the way, are you waiting for this other technology IPO? Let's take a look and see what's going on here. U.S. defense startup Anduril Industries is reportedly in talks to acquire Nissan Motors Company. By the way, ticker is NSANY on the OTC. Looking to acquire Nissan's Apama plant in Japan to manufacture autonomous military drones. No deal has been finalized yet, as Reuters reported today, citing sources, but the 1.7 million square foot colossal site sits adjacent to the Yokosuka Naval Base, headquartered in Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force and home to the U.S. Navy's only forward-deployed carrier strike group. Anduril has proposed retaining the plant's 2,400 workers for defense manufacturing. The factory, which opened in 1961 and has produced roughly 18 million vehicles, including the Nissan Leaf EV, is scheduled to close in 2028. The acquisition news comes amid reports of Prime Minister Sane Takachi's government and is expected to unveil a national security strategy, accelerating drone and munition spending driven by the Taiwan Strait risk. Anduril, co-founded in 2017 by Palmer Luckey, has been expanding its presence in Japan's defense market. Last year, the company developed a prototype drone called the Kizuna, which means bond in Japanese, built entirely with Japanese components to comply with domestic content requirements. It has also established operations in Taiwan and South Korea as regional defense spending increases. On the broader defense front, the U.S. Air Force this month awarded Anduril and General Atomics a contract to build the first fleet of semi-autonomous combat aircrafts, underscoring the company's growing role in next-generation weapon development. Luckey believes AI is important, quote, not just for the economy, but also for the ways we deter wars, fight wars, and win wars, end quote. According to Reuters, Nissan is also in talks with other potential buyers. The source said Anduril will still need to secure orders from Japan's military to justify any purchase. Anduril has been making moves lately. The U.S. Army this month selected Anduril to lead the Common Data Baseline for its next-generation command and control effort, following 10 months of battlefield testing with its 4th Infantry Division. The contract falls under a 10-year enterprise leasing agreement with a ceiling of $20 billion. Last month, Anduril raised $5 billion in a Series H funding round, valuing the company at $61 billion, double its mid-2025 valuation of $30.5 billion. The company has also been expanding its naval footprint. In April, Anduril partnered with British maritime innovation company Kraken Technology Group to develop small, mass-producible unmanned surface vessels for the U.S. Navy. So Anduril, there are so many big IPOs this year. This one is absolutely one that I am waiting for. Looks like there was someone else in here waiting for the same thing. I can't wait. I've always loved this company. Anne-Marie Band says, I'm excited about this IPO. Corey, good to see you. Good morning. I'd consider investing into Anduril 100%. We love it. Palmer Luckey is a genius. I totally agree with that. Across the board, agreement on all of that. So can't wait for this. The SpaceX IPO was fun. There was a lot of activity around that. And we are just getting started, folks. We are just getting started. Okay, I actually do have another quick story here. Since we have the time, and evidently I'd be good at announcing horse racing. Maybe that would be fun. But in any case, I do have one more story here that I want to get to. This has to do with airfares. So we have the price of oil, quote, dropping like a rock, to quote Trump, who was absolutely right about that. Airfares, however, may not fall until September, despite the lower oil prices. Let's check out what's going on here. It could be a while before airline fares drop, despite a decline in oil prices following the Iran agreement and all it has to do with demand, according to Gas Buddy analyst Patrick Dahan. Quoting a post by a user on X on Wednesday, Dahan said that airlines had optimized their capacity due to, quote, high fuel prices in the summer, end quote, and adding that he expects a handful of deals for less utilized routes. DeHaan said that a, quote, full drop in fares, end quote, was difficult, at least until demand dropped sometime in August, but more so in the fall when there will be way more capacity than demand. In the same thread, DeHaan also described how steep domestic flight fares were compared to international flights. That's kind of backwards. The analyst said that it would be cheaper to fly from Chicago's O'Hare International Airport to Naples in Italy when compared to flying from Newark to Florida. Quote, prices have dropped from over $1,200 to under $800, end quote. That was from DeHaan sharing prices of international flights to Italy from the U.S. Good time to go to Italy, I guess. Analysts have echoed similar comments on airfares, saying that prices may not go down soon because operators did not have enough incentive to lower prices due to strong demand. Experts have also suggested that airline ticket prices have been shaped by the recent collapse of Spirit Aviation Holdings, and that ticker, by the way, is FLYYQ on the OTC, that happened in May, which removed a source of cheaper tickets for flyers. The uncertainty around the Strait of Hormuz has also resulted in shipping costs surging. Data suggests that the market average cost of shipping a 40-foot container from the Far East to the U.S. West Coast was recently $4,047. Oil price fell again on Thursday, with West Texas Intermediate or WTI crude falling below $70 to $69.87 a barrel at the present time. Brent crude also fell to 72.98 per barrel at the time of this writing. According to data from Airlines for America, on June 24th, jet fuel cost $2.83 a gallon. Meanwhile, the national average for a gallon of gas was at $3.91 on Thursday. That's according to data from AAA, the American Automobile Association. Prices remained above $5 a gallon in states towards the Pacific, like California and Washington. And I suppose, no surprise there. All right. Speaking of which, let's just roll this here. Let's do street tweets, producer. Street tweet. I knew it was going to happen eventually. I just keep saying it. I'll screw it up eventually. Street tweets is right now. All right, here we go, folks. So this is again on oil here. Brent crude oil prices officially erase all of the gains since the Iran war started on February 28th. And here is a graphical representation of that. Also, can we do a wellness check on those that were calling and betting on oil going to 200? We should make sure that those folks are okay here. The entire war premium has evaporated in oil. Let's see where we can actually get this to settle and what that might do for other things like airline fuel cost or airline ticket costs, gas at the pump, and the economy in general. All right, going back to Pro here. We can got a couple of minutes. I am so excited. I can barely contain myself. I'm so excited. We do have 5 minutes here before the next guest. So we can probably take a look at a couple of charts. I think what I might do, maybe I'm going to preview this news here. Let's see if we can do that. Let me flip over to the movers tool. And let's take a look here at DPRO, which apparently had some news here this morning. Let's take a look at it together. All right. DPRO up 1.96%, but there is a big piece of news here. Draganfly secures a major IACLEA win to expand the campus drone program nationwide. International Association of Campus Law Enforcement Administrators launched the National Campus Drone Readiness Program, selecting Draganfly to provide drone systems, services, and training in alignment with emerging U.S. drone policy. So we've talked about drones kind of as a theme recently. Obviously, we just talked about Anduril IPOing, which is going to be absolutely huge. But we've also talked about the Gauntlet 2 program that drone companies are going to be in. Here's another one, another piece of news here. This is helping DPRO trade up here. I'm actually looking at the level 2 here. Big spread in this too. So we'll see if this ends up getting another pop. And yeah, in just a couple of minutes, we are going to talk to the CEO here of DPRO. So get your questions ready if there's anything that you want to hear from him. I'm going to ask him a couple of things that I'm wondering about regarding this news anyway, but that is coming up here shortly. So be sure to stay tuned. Now, in the meantime, we can take a look at any of the other charts here. SPY's doing a good job holding its pop. Let's actually take a look at Micron and see how that's doing. And we'll also take a look at some of the other memory names that are trading in sympathy to that. Micron still holding higher here by 17.26%. This looks to me like this is going to try to break the top of the pre-market range here. 1250 seems like it's pretty much going to happen here anytime. So this looks really good. WDC was also mentioned alongside that. This looks like this is going to break higher. Looks like 740 test coming here. And then also SanDisk. Now, SanDisk, this has been one of the absolute biggest winners in this. This actually having a really good pre-market as well, up 16% here. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Okay, perfect. So this looks like we might recapture and break the all-time high as well. That is coming here. Sure looks like it. Who else was that you folks want to take a look at before we talk to the CEO here today? Let me know. Let me know. We'll go ahead and pull those up here. Doing pretty good. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, folks. We're going to keep trying to bring you top-line guests and really good interviews all of the time. All of the time. Let me know if there's anything else that you want to take a look at. We will go ahead and add that here to the list. In fact, let me actually get my list up here. That way we can follow along from that, and I can take notes from any of the other stocks that you folks want. Okay. All right. QBTS is being added to that. Let me go ahead and add that. I think we're actually going to go to our guest here in a sec, but I will continue to add those stocks to the list there. Thank you, Tigran, for that. All right. Let's just get right to it. Barb, you excited? That's so cool. Okay, here we go. So cool. I'm stoked. All right, let's not waste any more time then. And you know what, Jay? Absolutely, we're going to take a look at Wendy's. In fact, before I forget to do that, let me go ahead and add that to the list as well. Add that to the list as well. All right, folks, I promised you a busy, busy morning here today. Time to deliver on that promise. We did have some news here today. It's going to be fun, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome back to the show CEO of Draganfly Incorporated, Cameron Chell. Let's bring him on and see how he's doing here today. Cameron, welcome back. How you doing?
Ryan, it's great to be here. Thank you. Doing great.
It's let me tell you, it's great to have you back. Thanks again for giving us the time.
My pleasure.
Saw some news there this morning for Draganfly. We just talked about it. Let's just dive right in here. We had a great conversation the last time that you were on the show. How are the developments coming along?
Yeah, we're really excited about what we got to announce today. So, in the drone space, there's so much focus today on military. And the reality is, in the medium to long term, the public safety and the commercial market is actually even much bigger than the military market. And fortunately, because Draganfly has been around so long, we have three major verticals. We have our industrial / commercial and agriculture division. We have our public safety, and we have our military. And today we're really pretty honored and privileged to announce on our public safety side of the business that IACLEA, which is the International Association of Law Enforcement Professionals for Campuses. So that's 3,000 universities and campuses around the world, about 85% of which are in the US, have selected and standardized on Draganfly for their training and equipment. So if we think about everything that's happened over campuses over the last couple of years, assassinations and political rallies, the roles that drones could have played or are playing in them, to have Draganfly as now the primary provider and trainer, subject matter experts to be able to work with this particular market with all these campuses, it's game changing for us. It's really a monster. We're really, really privileged.
Yeah, that does seem like a game changer, and it seems like the right thing to do. And look, I'm just kind of thinking off the cuff here with the World Cup going on, which has been absolutely tremendous. Yeah. What is the possibility that that drones are used for protection at like major sporting events like this, not just campuses?
Yeah, 100%. Well, part of this campus is going to be the major sporting events on those campuses, right? And so, but you've got multiple types of, one of the reasons that I think we were selected, well, I can tell you we were selected, is because we don't provide just one type of drone, and we do provide operational support. So, you're going to see tethered drones around stadiums, right, that are providing pervasive surveillance, intelligence and reconnaissance, for people coming in that might be carrying weapons, for crowd control, for management, for those types of things. You're going to see incident response drones, so drones in a box, drones as first responders for incidents or active shooter situations that are happening on campuses. You're going to see counter drone, right? So there's drone incursions on campuses today, and so it also includes counter drone capabilities, but it's also community service measures as well. So being able to include, the rest of the campus in with what's going on with drones, and being able to use them as part of community service for safety walks or for oversight for student activations or things like that. It's much more than a drone that's up in the air because of one situation. It's an entire society that lives and operates within a campus, and so the drone applications are almost endless.
Okay, I'm just thinking about drone applications right now, and I feel like I could keep going there. It does, in fact, seem endless. Look, with the Trump administration, they've been focusing on quantum space and the drone sector pretty much for the entire second term here. You can clearly see lots of investment in those industries. How do you see the drone sector in the near-term future? And then how does Draganfly fit into this? And then I guess we can also talk about the long-term vision as well.
Yeah, so certainly investment into drones is going to continue because it's kind of the cat's out of the bag, and there's kind of broad sociological acceptance of the role of drones and what they'll be able to do, whether it's from delivery, whether it's from surveillance or first response or disaster recovery, or the list goes, or military defense, counter drone, the whole thing. So the innovation and the investment is going to continue. In fact, JP Morgan, about just under a month ago, announced that they were going to invest $1 trillion over the next 10 years into that space. And they've set up an industry forum and initiative of a number of companies and professionals, of which we're working to be a part of, in order to not just access that, but provide guidance into how they want to best deploy it. Now, drones really are the front edge of quantum and AI and autonomy, right? This is where the rubber meets the road. So if you're in the drone space, you're in the sovereign data, the quantum, the AI, and the autonomy space. So all of that investment really ends up funneling down into the functionality of what a drone does. So a drone carries out the function of what all of that, AI and quantum, et cetera, are generating. But it's also the main feeder of information back into that. So nothing collects data better than a drone in the real world. I mean, it's a flying battery that literally we can put it on top of a street corner, and in minutes, we can tell you what's happening with the underground infrastructure in terms of leaks. We can tell you what's happening with the air quality. We can tell you what's happening with traffic. We can literally tell you the heart rate, the respiratory rate, and the blood pressure of the people on the street. We can tell you the carbon monoxide emissions of the cars going by. It's endless. So that's all real-time data that again gets fed back into AI and quant. So I believe that the investment into the drone space and the bigger autonomy space is really kind of like, we thought 2000 was big for the internet. Well, we saw that the next 20 years was 10 times bigger than we ever thought it was going to be. And I think that's the same kind of spot we're at as it relates to drones.
I'm so glad that you said that. What I was just thinking of here, I was just going to kind of ask you off the cuff again. We often describe the drone industry like the innings of a baseball game. Mm-hmm. We have said recently that we are maybe in the second inning here.
You're right.
Does that track for you? What inning do you think we're in with this whole
thing? I think second inning is probably a good analogy to it.
Okay.
But but it's really hard to quantify because back in the .com days when we talked about being in the first or second inning, we could only imagine what the internet was going to be, and back then it was like email and web pages. Yep. And if we think about what the internet is today and what it's brought on, meaning it's like quantum AI is possible because of the internet. We wouldn't have been able to collect the data and do all and so if we think about it in that perspective, the internet in 2000 wasn't even in the first inning. And so if you think about what drones will end up doing and creating because of drones and the way they can collect data, it's hard to quantify if we're even in the first inning yet. But I think, based on what we know, and the funny thing is there's so much that we don't know that's going to happen, but based on what we know, I think we're in about the second inning. But when you've got Jamie Dimon coming up and saying that, drones are going to get $1 trillion from JP Morgan over the next 10 years, that's one investment bank. They get where this is going.
Yeah, no question. The government is telling you that. Now we have investment banks telling you that. It's definitely at the beginning here. Thanks for all that. By the way, can you just update investors on the company's latest work, really anywhere that you want to go with this?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that opportunity. So, Draganfly is uniquely positioned because we have manufacturing both in Canada and in the United States. So we have the benefit of, an incredible U.S. Department of War budget that's very focused on autonomy and drones in particular. So we're very active in all the large programs. We service everybody from Navy Special Warfare to Rangers to Airborne to Air Force Special Command. Those are our customers, the real special forces out there. And we're working our way into the big Army and big Navy and such as those large programs are coming to fruition. Now, the interesting thing is up in Canada, they've got a new defense industrial strategy, and 5% of their GDP is going into defense. That makes them one of the largest defense spenders in the world now. And having our roots up in Canada, they have a very strong buy Canadian posture right now and international trade posture, because of some of the challenges of the tariffs that the two administrations have had with each other recently. Well, so the advantage for us is that there's really only a couple of manufacturers up in Canada, so we're really well positioned up there to have an impact, be of great service, and garner a huge market share, which is in the billions of dollars. And that's also translating well into the international trade work that they're doing. We've got new facilities that are coming online in the United States this fall, which is again increasing our capacity, and we're shoring a lot of the technology here in the United States. So not only are we developing and innovating our own technology, but we're taking a technology that's from around the world that might be leading edge or lower cost, that's NDAA compliant, so all covered countries, friendly allied nations, and bringing that technology for the manufacturer in the US. So we're really meeting the mandate of the current administration to make sure that we're creating an industrial base here in the United States in order to help drive our advantage and keep that advantage.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like that just goes along to securing the entire hemisphere here, not just the United States or not just Canada, but everything as a collective. That's absolutely fantastic. Is there anything else you want to share with investors here today?
No, we really appreciate the support that we get, and thanks for sticking with us for the last 27 years, and we really look forward to the next 27. It is a different world that we're flying into.
There's no question. And again, I cannot thank you for taking the time to talk to us about it. I look forward to more updates from you in the future. Thanks very much, Cameron.
Thanks, Ryan.
Talk to you soon. Cameron Chell, CEO of Draganfly. The ticker is DPRO. Really gracious with his time. I know we've talked about drones kind of as a theme here for a while. Look, it's not going away. I know some of them are out of favor right now. I shudder to say this, but that's transitory, folks. I think that that's going to turn around here really soon. We are extremely early in this whole thing. You just heard it right there from one of the sources. So, all right. I know we went a little bit over. Don't worry. I will not deny you your 13. Of course not. Let's go ahead and start pre-market pulse. Good morning, 13. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How is everybody else in the chat?
Man, we're doing great. We have a jam-packed show here today, and it has been the absolute top so far here. So really good stuff. Great stuff there from Cameron and the CEO of DPRO. 13, where do you want to start here today?
Let's just get these movers out of the way. Transitory.
It was my fault. It's totally my fault. I just walked up to this campfire with this can of gas, and I was like, "Let's go!" All right, let's hit the movers list and let's see what we've got here today. We'll actually do a quick check in here in DPRO. This is interesting. This is a little bit higher here. There is nobody trying to sell stock up to like the 530 area. So this thing's gonna gap when the market opens. But 13, what did you have on your list here?
Well, this list is shifting a lot this morning here. So when I first looked at it, IQST was at the top. It's not there anymore. But the ones that I did end up looking at in this jumping around list was IQST, AZI, KUST, and Mimi.
Mimi, okay. And WidePoint had a piece of news, so we can take a look at that as well. All right, let's do IQST first. Okay. This one did pop up towards 190. Looks like we topped out at about 188 there. We came back in. We've actually lost the VWAP here. This did have a piece of news here today. It targets 4x profit growth and $4.5 million in added net income with its UltraNet acquisition. That expands to push into high margin digital services. I won't dive into that a little bit more just in case you are going to do that. A quick peek at the short interest here, 13.82% on 1 day to cover. The stock on average trades about just shy of 900,000 shares. I don't actually have a volume reading on it, but it's much higher than that already. Float on this one, 6.7 million. 13, what do you think here on IQST?
So that shareholder letter is, like you said, is what is pushing this up here. It is a memorandum of understanding that they have with UltraNet that's going to do all this big transformation with that acquisition. So there's still a bit of a road ahead for that, but that's what's causing it to pop here. We do have a little bit of short interest, 13.82%, but not the days to cover doesn't meet our metrics. So right. Don't really think I'd be leaning too much into that. The company does have revenue. It has a little bit of cash, but it's not profitable. So then you're going to be hearing a lot about those three all being pretty much the same here with everything we're looking at and all these movers today. So it does make some money. It doesn't have a very large cash position, and it's not profitable. At some point, it's probably going to have to do some kind of capital raise. I didn't dive too deep into what their current position is, or if they've raised recently, but they still are going to need to look like they're going to have to do some kind of restructuring in the future here. The float is 6.69 million, so shouldn't be too hard to move around, but it's not a micro float where this thing is going to whip around. Currently, the problem it's running into right now is trying to get back above VWAP. There's a seller walking it down right now. Yep. And if this continues to walk it all the way down to the 65 EMA, that's where we might start to see some support around 130.
Okay. Yeah, this breaking VWAP, this coming back in, we can actually kind of be patient with this one, in my opinion, and wait to see if that gives us any support.
Yeah, be patient with a lot of these because they're just shifting position all over the pre-market here. I don't know which one's going to end up getting latched onto. So let's talk about a lot of these, kind of give you an idea what they're about, and then we'll see what happens in the market opens.
Okay, perfect. And you know what? With us having a little bit less time here today, we could probably roll through them a little bit quicker too, if you want. I'll start here real quick with ILLR. This is Triller Group. Triller Night. Okay, I'm done. Triller Group shares are trading higher after the company announced its subsidiary Trendy Reach Holdings will acquire 3,917 million SpaceX shares through SAC1. Okay, so it's adding SpaceX. Cool. That has caused it to pop from about 76 cents all the way up to about 280, coming back in a little bit. We are above the VWAP, so it is what it is there. As far as the short interest on this, negligible. 1% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover, doesn't meet high or elevated on any of our metrics there. Float on this one, 15.8 million. Did you have anything on ILLR?
This one was moving before, just before I came on, so I don't. Just looking at the balance sheet right now, looks like they've got a lot of debt. It's great that they're picking up SpaceX. Maybe that's supposed to be some kind of out for them. But yeah, they've got a lot of debt, and this might come right back in as easily as it went back up. I'm not spending a lot of time on this. They do have a little bit of revenue, but they lose a lot of money. Be careful.
I was going to say, this seems like a be careful to me. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Be careful with that one.
Yeah. Be careful with this one. Okay. It is moving pretty crazy here too. And it actually looks like it's That spread's a little bit tight, so that might be okay. All right, next on the list here is going to be AZI. Now, this is a China name, so right off the bat, we've actually traded this one before. We've covered this one before on the show. This is AutoZ Internet Tech. This thing closed at 114 yesterday, traded up towards 238 here today. We've come back in, and we did the dreaded thing where we lose the VWAP, and we really can't get above this. Now, looking at yesterday, it looks like we did have some news in the after hours yesterday about the execution of a securities purchase agreement. So they signed a $5.25 million securities purchase agreement with an undisclosed institutional lender. Okay, a little bit of liquidity there. Short interest, 0.66% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover. On average, the stock trades 4 million shares. Today, it's traded 25 million shares, and that is versus a float of 4.44 million. What do you got on AZI, boss?
Yeah, this company does have revenue. It has no cash. It's not profitable. The current positions on the chart that I'd be keeping an eye on are recapturing that 65 EMA on the 5-minute. That's our first area of resistance that we're currently working through right now. If it does manage to recapture, then it's going to be VWAP just up near $2. So those are the next two resistance levels that we need to watch for. Currently working through that 65 EMA. See if we can recapture it.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at this right now, 13. I can't help it, but it looks like we've got a nice little trend line here. And if you were with us on the show yesterday, you know that the trend lines have been a bit saucy. So we'll see if we can break above this here today. All right, good stuff there. AZI, I'm going to keep rolling here. Next is Cust. That's Cust with a K, K-U-S-T. This is Custom Entertainment. I can't help it. I just think about Krusty the Clown. I see this ticker. I see the name here. I can't help it. It's what it is. Stock closed at 142 yesterday, traded up to 341 here today. It's come all the way back in, lost VWAP, made no attempt really to get back above it. The news here, Custom Entertainment inks an agreement to divest its video solutions division to Cycurion for $5.5 million in cash. Okay. Short interest on this name, 8.26% of the float is shorted, 1.7 days to cover. There's some. It's not elevated. It's not high. The float, however, micro float, under 1 million shares. I've got 626,000 shares in the float. On average, the stock trades 185,000 shares. Today, it's traded 34 million and change. What do you think here on KUST?
I think this one might have a little bit of a happier story here today. So, and we can call it Krusty if you want. But this is one that has very low float, so it's going to be able to be pushed around a little bit easier, both directions, are possible. So just keep that in mind. Company does have revenue. It has little cash, but with this divestiture of their business for $5.5 million, that's going to help with their cash position. So this actually makes things a little bit better for them. Still not profitable, although they probably will report one good quarter. I think this is going to have a little bit more of a reason to go to the upside. And there's a lot of levels that we have in the way here because we have traded this one before. And from here, the next one's going to be 245, and then you have VWAP, which also has another level. 290 and 315 are the next resistance levels after that. So lots of different levels but with this one. And I think the next big one to watch for is going to be 245. We did lose that one in the pre-market here, tried to recapture it, couldn't do it, ended up coming down to find support around 210. And that looks like where we're trying to bottom here right now. So if we do start to trade back up and recapture this 230, I think 245 is coming next.
Okay, really good breakdown there. KUST. Let's keep rolling here. You had something on Mimi, did you not?
Yeah, they have some kind of a joint venture agreement going on here. Let me just pull this up. With YAS Robotics, YAS, YAS Robotics, focused on development, marketing, and distribution of robotics and AI-related insurance products. So a lot of different commercial services and supplies. And they have revenue, little cash. They're going to have to raise capital, in my opinion. They're not profitable, so this is very much within the theme of everything we've been talking about this morning. The next spots on the chart that I see are going to be for resistance. You have VWAP, which we've been trying to recapture for the past 20, 30 minutes here, 20, 25 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then after you do get past VWAP, you have resistance at $5, where the price was kind of topping out at this morning. So that's if we can just get some support now, which it's not looking like we're really going to be getting here. So if this continues to fall further, looks like there could be some support at around 340 if we don't get it up here.
Okay, we'll see if we get that good stuff there on Cust. Next and last from the list here is going to be YYY. This is WidePoint. This is an American
WYY.
What did I say?
Why?
Oh, I beg your pardon. Thank you for the correction. WYY, Whiskey Yankee. Don't get much more American than that. Let's go. WYY, wide point. Stock closed at 1760 yesterday, 1762. We traded up towards 37 here today, but we've come back in. And as you just saw there on the chart, we had a lot of candles that were unable to take us above the VWAP. That's definitely going to be something to watch. Now, what's going on here? Wide point selected as a single awardee of the DHS Cellular Wireless Managed Service 3.0 contract. 10-year IDIQ contract with a ceiling value of 3.1 billion. 3.1 billion. This is a pretty hefty contract here. Also, by the way, we had a rumor yesterday morning that Zacks HR investor was buying this stock. So now we had that rumor yesterday. Now we have this PR here today. Stock is popping 38%. Quick peek at the short interest on this one. 2% of the float is shorted, 1 day to cover. That is negligible. I don't even think you have to worry about that. Float on this stock, 8.3 million. On average, it trades 136,000 shares. Today, it's traded 3 million. It actually has analyst coverage too, and it is unanimously good coverage from the three firms that have it. Let me actually go pull that here real quick. Analyst ratings, the three ones here that were recent, it's H.C. Wainwright and West Park. So I beg your pardon, it's just two. That one was from 2025. And the price target there is 9. So we are way, way above that. 13, do you have anything here on WYY? I almost did it again.
I'd have to spend a little bit more time looking into this, but if they're the sole recipient of a contract that could be worth up to 3.1 billion, then yeah, I can see how this would this would go like almost, this has got up to 38 almost. So yeah, this is like more than double what it started at. I think this is one you also have to be careful with. Look at the price action we had with this, and I do think that it could still come back up, but I don't know enough to be like, oh yeah, this thing is going to be at this price and it's going to do great. It could be really good. It could be worth more than the $38 it went up to, but I don't know enough about it. So just looking at the chart. 65 EMA, that's going to be your next support. And clearly the resistance is at VWAP.
Yep, indeed. And we do have a fair value gap here. It is a wide one, and it is in the gap right now, but it is not yet bounced from that. Maybe you could make the argument that when it first came in here to the 15 EMA, bounced back to the VWAP, that was your fair value gap bounce. Okay, I can see it. Let's see what happens at this 65 EMA that 13 just talked about there. Value I have is 2320. So we'll see if this gets any type of bounce here today. We have a nice range carved out. So if it does start to bounce, this could actually be a pretty decent trade. All right, let me flip over to the main workspace. We've got 6 minutes left. That was it from the movers. 13. If there was anything I skipped over, we can absolutely take a look at that. Veggie Girl, however, wanted to ask about SkyQ. This was one that really moved yesterday, and it's kind of held that here today. It is under VWAP. It's made a couple of attempts to get to it. Hasn't yet, but I wouldn't necessarily write it off. The other thing here, if we back out on this, we've had another run here recently that was on Monday. So I've had 2 days here. This thing's got a pretty good trend now, and I'm certain that this is going to be on relative volume scans for those that are looking for new opportunities. So we'll see if SkyQ gets rolling here. I think you wanted to take a look at the chart. I'll go to the bigger chart so I can get the traditional moving averages here. But boy, oh boy, this chart formation doesn't look terrible. Sure looks like the bottom has been put in. It looks like we're trying to curl up and break higher. I definitely see some resistance in the 4 handle if we can do that. Definitely see some resistance there. We'll see what we end up doing with that. 13, let me go back to the bigger chart here, and I'll bring up SkyQ so we can take a look at some of those regular moving averages.
Yeah, so the reason why this was moving up is because they're nearing operations to commence. That's supposed to happen next month. And they looks like they're expecting more, approximately 10,000 barrels of inventory on site and more than 100,000 of storage capacity. Lots of good positive news coming out of from yesterday. So yeah, I could understand why this would be going up, but I'm looking at a 5-minute chart and I see a trend line here from, just the highs from yesterday, like it's all 3 of those extending into the pre-market this morning. I think that's a trend line I could see the price revisiting again.
Let me add it here. I'll go back and add it on the other one as well. So Veggie Girl, so here you go. If this continues its upward move, now we have a target intraday. Got that right at 297. 13, I wouldn't be surprised if it found resistance at the round 3 number as well. Okay.
Yep.
Good stuff there on SkyQ. Let me flip back over to the main workspace. We got 4 minutes. What do we want to take a look at here? Izzy, Ryan, DPRO, do you own it? No, I don't. It's not one that I've looked at for a long time, and interviewing the CEO the last couple of times here, don't own it yet. Don't own it yet. But I'll be honest with you, Izzy, given what he said, just to kind of follow up on that, I asked him about what inning we're in, and he agreed we're very early innings. He said second sounded like a good one. I think the big move is actually still coming in a lot of these, and I don't know exactly which ones are going to win. I guarantee that there will be more attempts at drone plays from me. I'll keep you posted on all of that. All right. 13, anything that you want to take a look at? I know Lion just wants to open the market. He doesn't care.
I actually am with him on that. I want the market to open. I don't know what else I could discuss. If somebody wants to bring up a ticker, I could take a look at it, but I want this market to open so we can play with it.
Okay. Okie dokie. Ed wants to take a look at BABA. We can do that here real quick. For those of you that are fans of basketball, it looks like LaMelo Ball was just traded. So fun. Okay. Here's a look at your BABA daily chart. Has not been great.
Yeah, I remember seeing
this is at a support level, though.
Well, I remember seeing something in the news about why it's down here now, because the Anthropic was accusing Alibaba of illicitly accessing its models.
Okay.
Which I don't think there's any surprise there, but now Anthropic's written to Elizabeth Warren, Tim Scott, and I guess others. So that's why it's down here. It's being accused of that activity.
Okay. Good stuff there on BABA. Does anyone like this? I haven't traded Alibaba in a hot minute here. Just wondering if anyone likes this.
Well, this week has not been a good week for it. We're losing the 200-week SMA. Let's look at some of these, and the 50-month SMA. So this is, I would well, hold on. Where are these even located? They're right in the same area. So I think that's going to be the thing I would want to watch for. Is that 200-week and that 50-month SMA are pretty much in the same exact area, and if we aren't recapturing those probably by the end of June, then I think we could start to see some lower prints. Maybe there would have to be another few more candles for me to really feel comfortable that we're staying underneath these moving averages. But I think this is the thing to watch for. The value of the 200. Hold on, how much time do we have? Less than 15 seconds. So the value of the 200-week SMA on BABA is 103.72, and the 50-month is 103.44. So I would say in that 103 to 104 handle, that area there, you're going to want to see recapture.
Yeah. All right. We are open. And by the way, be sure to vote in our poll. We have a poll running right now with the first half of 2026 nearly over. Which of the following do you think will be the best returns from July 1st through the end of 2026? Bitcoin, SpaceX, the S&P 500, or Berkshire Hathaway? Please vote in our poll. We include your responses in articles that we write. All right. What do we got?
Looks like Wendy's is still having another good morning. I thought we were going to take a look at that, but that's...
Hey, you think there's a short squeeze going on here? I sure do.
Sure.
And we talked about this yesterday, and giddy up. Good thing that we did.
And I think that there's still this risk of that dividend being cut, because if you looked at their income statements recently, they are just they're not able to make their the net income to be able to pay out their dividends. I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing the CFO here. I think we could end up seeing a dividend cut if things aren't turning around soon.
Yeah,
that would be my expectation.
No, that's a really good forward-looking bet there too. That's why we bring you in here, 13. You're a smart cookie.
So I sure can appear to be.
All right, quick check-in. The SPY, this did pull from the pre-market highs. Controversial opinion here. I think this is good. This might get us an opportunity to trade this. Giovanni, let me know. SPY 739.74 is the key level to break for upside momentum. Strong support. Downside 737.47, 735, and 734 and change. Have some numbers in there. Okay. We'll see where we end up bottoming out. Giovanni, I might come back to you on some of those SPY levels. I also want to check out Micron here. So Micron's coming in a little bit of profit taking. Lion, I'm putting you on the spot. Where is the buy spot on this profit taking move from Micron? What level is it at? 1215, 1200? You tell me. And YYY is indeed spread like crazy, Scott. The chart actually, the intraday chart looks like it wants to continue lower here. We can wait for that to firm up.
Oh, yeah. BlackBerry is back over 10.
And Cust, this is curling back towards its VWAP. Krusty the Clown. Let's go.
I still think that I'd wait BlackBerry out. It had a really good run. I'm not sure that we're going to start to see it go beyond 12 quite yet. My expectation is it comes back in a little bit, and then it goes up through 12. So I'm thinking maybe several months out, we're still looking for that move. That's my expectation. We'll see if it ends up panning out.
WY. Did I say YYY again, Daniel? Damn it. I am so sorry, folks. I'm so sorry. I will try to do that. I'll try to do better. I'm already screwing it up. Liam, however, I took profits on Micron at 1242. That's a register ring for Liam. Let's go.
Yeah, and you're right. Looks like Cust, KUST, having a pretty good move here out of the gate. This is the one that actually is going to have a decent cash position once they've divested from their business that they're trying to sell. Meanwhile, all the other movers are kind of in the red here.
As the SPY is actually pulling here, so we're not in the red yet. The S&P futures did go right through the VWAP to the downside. No signs of support just yet. We're coming into 737. We'll see if that gives it to us. I am going to be looking for a possible bounce spot here on SPY. I will keep you posted on that. And let's just test it out here. WYY. Okay, I got it right once. That means I can do it. Let's just hope I can keep doing it.
I know why it's messing you up, because when you say the name, it's Wide Point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just I don't know. It's not great. All right. Someone asked earlier to take a look at QBTS. I'm actually seeing. Oh, you got to click on the right ticker, guy. I'm actually seeing some calls get bought here. So QBTS is actually doing a good job kind of holding the level here in the pre-market. I guess for a trade, you could kind of mark off the high and the low of this and see which way it breaks and which direction it goes. But in any case, QBTS, this actually looks like this might try and trade back up. We get a bounce off that. I did see, what were those? Those were call buys. So the $20 call, that actually might be a closing order now that I think about it.
If this rises back above the 200-day SMA, I think I would be keeping my eye on $30. That seems to be the big selling area every time the price comes up there, as it has since December. That's been resistance, so I would say $30. Keep an eye on that.
Real quick, the SPY did try to bounce a little bit here. We're not back above the 9 EMA. We're not back above VWAP. We are in the first trade window, though. I'll let you know if I get a signal on my indicator here. 13, I did just notice some unusual option trades here in Take-Two. We talked a little bit about Grand Theft Auto 6 yesterday. Take-Two is, of course, the parent company. And I got news for you, by the way. We kind of floated the idea about this. I asked my group of buddies that I play Escape from Tarkov with. They're much bigger gamers than I. They play multiple games. They spend a lot more time doing that than I do. And I asked them, I said, what are you going to do with Grand Theft Auto 6? Are you guys buying it? And I got an answer right away that said, yes, I'm going to buy it. But later on in the day, I got unanimous decisions from everybody in there. Not only are they all going to buy it and play it to see how it is, but they're going to buy the higher margin product. They're going to buy the $100 version. I know it's a small sample size, but
I think
a lot of excitement.
I think it's going to have really good initial sales. It goes on pre-order today. So we're going to already get an idea of just how much enthusiasm there is for it. And I think there could be, but I don't think it's going to have staying power. And one of the big reasons why I think that is because if you look back and you look at what made previous Grand Theft Auto so successful, and you look at the team that they have now that's been doing all the development for the past few years, several years, you see the big difference. And I don't think that the team they have now is anywhere near as good as what they used to have. I don't think this is gonna have staying power. I think Grand Theft Auto 6 is gonna end up, not at first, it'll be good at first, but I think it's gonna end up being a total bomb.
Okay, you're not alone. Frozen King, my prediction is that GTA 6 will flop. Nikhil says, I'm getting the $100 edition as well. This is what makes a market. This is going to be a fun one to take a look at. Ticker for this theme, if you will, TTWO Take Two.
Took them more than 10 years to make. They're like around 1.5, maybe as much as 2 billion in the hole to develop this. I don't have the greatest of confidence. I think they'll have great initial sales, but I don't think that this is going to have staying power.
All right, quick check in here. BlackBerry, by the way, at the highs. Wendy's here. This is holding the pre-market low. It actually looks like it's trying to go through the VWAP as we speak right now. We talked about this being a possible short squeeze candidate. We'll see if that materializes here. Wendy's, however, right at the VWAP. Daniel says, I think you guys are underestimating GTA 6. Everyone and their mom is buying it. That's what I'm trying to kind of get the idea for. And I will say that the folks that said that they were buying it literally told me that the reason is because they like the series so much. Like it almost doesn't matter, some of these other things that we're looking into. So just food for thought. By the way, S&P returning back down to 737. We actually just peaked below it. So we'll see if this 737 level intraday gives us any bit of support. Oh my God, Trey Blue mentioning Excite Bike. The nostalgia is flowing through me. Oh man, I gotta focus here. I can't think about Excite Bike. Props to you, Trey.
Looks like Wendy's came down to 833, found some support. That looks like that was the completely the gap fill from the move overnight from when we had the after hours close until we had the pre-market open. That seems to be the high from the after hours and basically the bottom of the gap fill.
ILLR looking like this is trying to push above 3 here. We already had one candle that took us above that. Let's see if we get another one. Mimi rejected at VWAP. Wendy's at the VWAP. I know you were just talking about the gap fill there. Corning. Corning looking like it's going to try and break that pre-market high here.
Some movers from, I think, yesterday or earlier in the week. EHGO. Oh, this had a big move this morning that took it up to 609. It's trying to climb back up to 5. Currently facing resistance around 475.
Joe here says the brains behind Rockstar who developed GTA and Red Dead Redemption are gone. The newer games won't be as good, but they'll still sell, just like the Marvel movies from 5 years ago. That's actually not a bad comparison either, Joe. And the EHGO, the stock you were just talking about here, this looks like a potential move back up to the VWAP, which wouldn't be a terrible day trade.
Yep.
Let's check it on Micron and see how it's doing.
IQST is also pushing up right now.
Okay. Micron basically at its VWAP. That move is not materializing yet, but it is way too early for that. Here's your IQST. Good mention, 13.
Because didn't you draw a trend line for this, or maybe I'm thinking of a different one, but let's see if this actually, I guess maybe a little bit. I don't know if that I would lean on that. Drawing.
ILLR did print some new highs here. Nice mention on this, Billy. This did actually take that out.
That went all the way. Okay, so next resistance area, $4.
And look at this. Cust went almost right to the VWAP, but now pulled back down towards the 15 EMA. It's just kind of sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
See if there's anything else interesting on the unusual options here.
Rocket Lab at 80.
Marvell calls, but these might be closing orders as this comes back in.
Rocket Lab probably will go down to the 200-day SMA at this point.
What value do you have that at?
74.75.
74.75. Okay. Not even far away from it.
Yeah, and this would also be also a pretty low RSI print. When it gets down to about this like 28 RSI area, it has a tendency to bounce, as it has done for the past 2 years. So something that I think we'd also want to watch for is when this RSI dips under 30, which probably will be when it goes and tests the 200-day SMA. That might be the bounce spot or the reversal area.
All right, real quick here. Brian asking, how many sell signals you got on SPY? None. I have no trade signals from my 0 DTE indicator at the moment. SPY, it's continuing to pull here into a 735 handle. The contract that I'd be looking at if we bounced right from here would be the 737, just because I think that would be pretty easy to recapture, but no signals as of yet, Bri. And Joe here saying this doesn't seem like a healthy market to me. It's propped up by the memory makers and the picks and shovels like Corning. I would amend that, and I would say it's propped up by the AI infrastructure. You go on to say that, but all the companies that are using that stuff are tanking. So the AI infrastructure is where the rotation is going. Who said that? Oh, that's right. Tim Melvin said that months ago.
Looks like ILR is still wanting to go higher here, but having a hard time with that 350 area.
Yeah, Trey, you're right on that, because one of the two of the things that the indicator looks at is what the price is doing with respect to the VWAP and the 9 EMA. So reversals, obviously, like if you start moving down and you drag these two indicators with you and then you reverse and cross through them and they start pitching up, that is going to generate some of those signals more often than just a steady trend higher. So you're absolutely right about that, Trey. And remember, this is solely for trading intraday, right? We are looking to just capture. There's 0 DTEs. You don't hold these. You buy them and you sell them, no matter what happens.
It's kind of interesting how we had Bitcoin dip under 60,000. It recaptured it, went above 61, almost went over 62. Now we're coming back down to test 60,000 again.
Yeah, this is rolling right back over to those lows, 13. 58,995 is what I have as the low on the futures ticker, by the way. SPY continuing to pull back here, 734 now.
Yeah,
and whoever bought that, what was that? Brand new hip hop. I bought 737 SPY puts. Giddy up, bro. You didn't even close those yet, but I'm going to give you a register ring. They're so in the money.
Did you see that ILLR has halted the upside right on the doorstep of the next resistance area I was talking about earlier?
I did not, but that's a good call. By the way, 13, timestamp 944.54. So you're looking at 949.54, basically 950 for the resumption.
And it looks like once we do get on that unhalt, we could see a pop right through 4, maybe met with some selling. But if we do get through 4 and hold up, above that, 460 is the next resistance area I have above that.
G-Man says my lowest SPY level for today is 734.57. We melted that level. We're an entire dollar beneath that. 733.43. It is a straight down red candle on the futures and on the SPY here today. And it is dragging other things with it. Let me check on Micron. Go ahead.
AZI is pushing through the trend line that we drew here. It's still got a seller in the way at 190, but if it gets through that, it looks like we could hit the VWAP, which is at 195. And then there was also something I was going to look at here with the SPY, because you were just talking about it. Okay, so yeah, 730. That's still the area that we probably will see some support. But if we start closing underneath this 50-day SMA, then could go down to 725. And there goes AZI up to the VWAP and through it.
AZI right to 2. There's a big seller there that they're chopping. This is restricted on toss, by the way. 732 now for the SPY as that continues to pull.
So there it is with AZI. Another move over the VWAP, came right back in. We've seen this several times this morning. Wouldn't be surprised if it came right back in from here. If we do start seeing this 5-minute chart have candles close over the VWAP, then we're going to be looking for some upside levels.
That was a really timely call, by the way, on AZI 13. Register ring for you on that one. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, we know ILR is halted up. We're waiting for let's see, what was it, 8:49:55? I think you said, Ryan.
Sorry, ILR halted at 9:44:54, so 9:49:54 is what we're looking for resumption.
9:49.
732 test coming on the SPY. This has just been straight down out of the open. There's no bounce yet. And yeah, absolutely, Dave. Hit the like for us here. And also don't forget, when you're hitting the like for us, our entire ethos here is about expanding and making this community great. That's why we threw the dumb troll out earlier, and we will continue to take trolls and put a steel toe up their rear end because they don't add any value here. We're trying to build the value for the show. So when you hit the like and subscribe, you're also doing it for yourself.
AZI is still acting pretty strong. Lots of sellers in the way to the upside here. So still want to be careful with this one, but just watching for those closes above VWAP.
731 handle now for the SPY as the pull continues.
I just need to be a little bit patient with some of these.
I think so too. I think patience is the key word here today, 13. I think you're spot on with that.
It really does seem like there's this, this over doneness of this move down here that I think we're going to see a bounce. Just got to be patient and wait for signs that it's starting to happen.
Yeah, and don't pile in too early on that because that's famous last word. 732 on the SPY. Here's Wendy's. So it actually did it. Yeah. So this nasty, man. This went above 9 and then pulled down to the pre-market lows. 826. Your 200 EMA on the 5 might offer the next support there.
Hey Moses, that's killer.
Yeah, I was going to say $5 off of that. That's register ring territory.
Yeah, I mean, $5 is $5. I thought you when I first thought that, I was like, wow, you traded up to $5. It went from like, let's say 4 to 9. That's awesome.
I see what he meant. Okay.
Yeah, but hey, $5 is $5.
You can get yourself a biggie bag from Wendy's for $5, right?
But here's the thing: you also didn't book a loss.
That's always the case. Okay, SPY showing its first possible bounce candle right here. Now, I don't think I got a signal on that. Let me check. Nope, no signal on that, but it is bouncing here. So 732 looks to be the first bounce spot there.
Yeah, Barb, I feel like there's going to be some bargain hunting looking around that these institutions are looking for. I think we're going to see some movement into the really hammered down names that generate good cash flow. I think those are the ones to watch. And some of them have already started to move.
Qualcomm, DRAM, the memory ETF that we talk about all the time, and Micron all have pulled from the open here. Now, they are maybe trying to bounce here. Micron may be bouncing off of 1,200. We'll see.
We did not get an unhalt from ILLR yet.
No, we did not. And we are past that. You are correct. So if it's a 10-minute one, then we're looking at 54.54.
I would have thought it would have been halted by now.
Lion, I sold Micron at the nice dip under 1900. So you're out of Micron now? SPY reacted 731.74, which is your support one pivot. Okay. You know what? Tell you what, though, this bounce is we're still a ways away from the VWAP. I don't know if I trust this bounce yet. Micron now beneath 1190. That's coming into the 200 EMA. I have that at 1170, by the way. Micron? No, you added. Okay. I add more Micron at that nice step. I'm sorry. I told you, you said that. I just misread it. 13.
If we are going to find support from Micron at some particular level, it could be just that we get a complete gap fill here and then we start trading right back up. So if we gap fill, that's going to mean that the price comes down to 1083 again.
G-Man says SPY looks like a trap. Thankfully, you said that.
It's a trap.
It actually does look like that. That bounce is immediately getting sold here too. Ondas pulling back down to the 750. Drones still under pressure here. Let's actually check DPRO. That is also coming in a little bit, although that's relatively, it's performing better than Ondas there. I'll check some of the other drone names. Let's check RCAT. That's down. The whole thing here, this whole theme is getting crushed.
Mud has been pretty good this morning. Hasn't really given a massive trade, but it's been pretty much straight up virtually out of the gate. Can I look at PRFX? Sure, I'll look at PRFX.
I can pull that up here for a visual aid. I'm kind of looking around real quick.
This thing's got a low float. It's moving up over 56% up on the day. They announced their drug Zinrelief, I believe is how it's pronounced, is demonstrated slower absorption rate relative to. Hold on, there's a fragmented headline here.
Go ahead. You read through it. Take your time. I can roll through some things and give you some cover there. Real quick, by the way, cost did come into the 65 EMA and it doesn't look great. It's holding here so far. It does not look great. Market is continuing to pull here. 731.40 on the SPY. More lows there. NVD is higher. 13 already mentioned. MUD was higher. That's going to be your inverse ETFs for some of the AI names. Oh my God. Wendy's is halted.
Yeah, it's halted to the downside.
Halted to the downside, okay.
It's been halted for several minutes already.
Okay.
PRFX looks like I have a level marked off here at 240. So, and then another one at 275. So those are the next two upside resistance areas. Almost got to one of them. 228 is the current high right now. It's trying to hold above VWAP. This is a biotech, it looks like, or pharma, but they're going to need some cash, and looks like they've recently signed a $15 million equity purchase agreement with Yorkville. So there's something that I would probably look into to see if that money is in the bank or not. So just briefly looking at this, the cash position is one thing I'd be concerned about. They don't make any money. So they're going to need to raise capital at some point. And then the next two levels on the chart are going to be, 240 and 275 if we hold above VWAP.
Okay, good stuff there, 13. By the way, we are still pulling here. So patience is definitely the way to go here today. 730.50.
ILLR finally unhalted.
Got
it
it.
was a 10-minute, and we did blow past $4. And now that is a support area. And we just lost it.
Lion here says profit taking on MU, no worries. Yeah, I agree with you on that 100%. I took some profit at the open. Now I'm buying more at this nice dip. SPY continuing to just get melted here. So is the Nasdaq. The Dow actually came off its highs too. Dow is still green. The Nasdaq and the SPY have both gone red.
ILLR trying to push back up, and wow, we are going.
There it goes.
Yeah. So NU, I think that the support that we're going to want to watch for is
BRB 1 sec 13
is going to be somewhere between 1080 and 1100. That's the spot I think I'd be keeping an eye on. PLTR is, let's take a look at PLTR actually. Oh yeah, lost 110, going under 108. Dave Chappelle, Rick James, give me that 90. This thing is really getting to be oversold too. So, I thought there would have been at least some kind of support from the 500-day SMA, and there really wasn't. It just kind of stepped right over that, opened the market, and became immediate resistance. So 500-day SMA, not a good level for PLTR. Still think we hit 90. Wendy's is open, and we are much lower. That is a nasty move beneath the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. Looks like somebody caught wind of he's talking about the dividend. ILR knocking on the door of 5. 540 is the next resistance area I have for ILLR. IQST trying to hold above its 65 EMA. It is not looking like that is going to happen. We may get some support from the 200 EMA though. AZI, this still is trying to get back over the VWAP. It has now printed over it twice since we started looking at it from the move up over the VWAP. It had this regular session. Still not able to have any candles close over it, but this current candle that we're in may just try and print over it again. We'll see if we can actually get it close. If this continues to get rejected at VWAP, I think it does come back in. KUST, Krusty, is trying to get back up to $2. It looks like 210 is was the big support area, and now it's the big resistance area. Mimi is coming down to the 65 EMA. WYY looks like this is still struggling with its VWAP. I think this goes to its 200 EMA. Sky Quarry also 200 EMA. But ILLR rocketed right up to 530. So not exactly the 540 I was looking for, but 530. If you guys will give me that 10%, or 10 cent gap there, I guess I was close enough, right? Now it's coming back in. Current support $4 beneath that VWAP.
SPY here continuing to get pummeled. 730 now. We're going to see if it bottoms here. It looked like it was trying to bounce, but really couldn't do much of anything. We'll see if 730 holds it here, but what a pounding this is right out of the open.
Mud over $10 now. That was nice. We could literally get this gap fill here in Micron.
Wouldn't that be good for it though? I feel like
it'd be good for live because he's gonna, if it hits 1100, he's buying with both hands. So I don't want to see any typing from him when it hits 11 because he's got to use both hands.
That's true. I don't want to see any typing from him. VIX, by the way, that went from 18 to 20, and Bitcoin is getting absolutely shellacked right now. 59 or 57,900. That is straight down. Straight down.
Oh wow. Yeah, Wendy's.
That opened, by the way.
Yeah, it did. It opened and went much lower. 730 possible support level. That's where it was in the after hours yesterday.
Now, even if the shorts that are in this start to cover, that might induce a move to the upside as more and more shorts buy to cover and push it up. That might feed on itself. So although this thing's getting pulled, I don't want to say that the possible short squeeze is over yet. SPY attempting to put in a bounce right here, attempting to bounce from 730. We'll see if it holds.
I'm starting to see that a little bit too. Yeah, Joe, I do like ACN. I also have some of that.
ACN? Oh, yeah. Accenture. Yeah.
Looks like Lion's going to have his neighbor come over.
I better ask for permission.
No, it has Henry come over to help him buy it. He's going to need all the hands he can get. Yep. Is your neighbor a zebra?
Is he attempt lol? I mean, look, that's all it is right now, right? It is attempting to put in some green candles. Those green candles get slapped.
Yeah. I say just let's make sure we have the bottom in. it looks like there are some names that are trying to, find that floor. BTCZ day.
Is that an ETF, like a short Bitcoin ETF, BTCZ? Yes, that's the TRX2F inverse Bitcoin ETF. Yeah, you're right about that.
I like this formation.
I like the price on this. You can kind of mess around with this in size. SPY bounce happening here. No buy indicator from the signal yet. We'll see, though. We are in the second trade window, so it could trigger. 731 and change now. I was looking at the 734 0 DTE call. Its low of the day is 105. It's currently 158 ask. Let's take a look at the Ondas chart here. Zach saying they're getting shot down. Zach, I can appreciate the joke there with drones being shot down. You could even say that they are arrested because Ondas has an arresting net thing. Okay, joke's not great. Let's take a look at Ondas, see where the potential buy spot is from the daily here.
Bitcoin with a bounce, so there may be some risk on coming into play now.
Man, if it bounces off this trend line here, that's in a 5 handle. We are at a support level right here at about 730. Next, I probably have that support at 650. Crazy structure on BTCZ. So glad you showed me this. Bitcoin is going low, low, low.
So what price?
SPY bounce continuing here. Now, here's the thing. So, sure, if you caught the bottom of this with 0 DTs, you'd have a profitable trade on your hand. Realistically, even with hindsight here, in the moment, not really easy to see exactly where that was bouncing unless you're playing the round 730 number. That trade ended up working 105 to 222 on those calls, but no signal on that. Now, go back to yesterday. We actually saw there was like crazy action. Maybe it wasn't yesterday. It was the day. Yeah, it was the day before where there was crazy action before it finally moved higher and then resolved lower. Now we're coming back up to the 9 EMA and the VWAP. This will be interesting. That's going to be right at about 734. What did I miss?
Marcus talking about people doing some boots on the ground investigative work with Wendy's.
All the people who pumped Wendy's stock went into a restaurant and ate yesterday and changed their investment thesis. Marcus, that's what I was saying. I haven't tried the new revamped menu, so I don't even know if it's any good. Let me go back to the main chart here. This Ondas chart looks awful. Not going to lie. Thank God we had an opportunity to sell it at 15 from 70 cents. ILR came back in, filled that gap, is still holding higher, but that intraday gap got filled. Bloom Energy call is getting bought, by the way.
BJ, Saylor is actually really in some serious debt issue here, but DNR is actually making money with their Ethereum. The problem is that he might be forced to sell if. What was that conversation that we were having yesterday?
Well, we were talking about both of them. Now, Saylor's got a debt issue, right? So we feel like he might be forced to sell a little bit earlier than Tom Lee. But the worry there is because Tom Lee's portfolio is so underwater that they might force him to sell. By the way, I did just get a buy indicator here on the 0 DTE. And now it's back at VWAP. Let's see what happens here at VWAP. No position for me. That happened fast, and I don't trust it. I still kind of think it's a trap.
Looks like we're starting to get some attempt to turn around here in some of these movers. We'll see if there's any follow through with this.
Now, Wendy's. So this level that it's at, you could make the case that this was a support level. It was a pre-market low that induced a bounce, and it also was an after-hours low that induced a bounce. So maybe this is a bounce spot here, 730s. That's where the SPY bounced off of.
So we did go right to 730, and we turned right around in the SPY. Now we're trying to get back above 732.
Yeah, we're flirting with the VWAP as we
734.
speak here.
Sorry, 734.
Lions buying KEG, CEG. That's Constellation Energy.
I think Ryan, we're looking for Bitcoin to probably going to come down to somewhere between 52 to 54.
Yeah, 52 to 54 sounds about right to me. That'd be an overshoot of that 50-month moving average that you've talked about a few times. And that would actually make sense given what's happened before when it has overshot that.
Yeah, I think we'll see we could see several months of the price action trading underneath that moving average. But I think it's that recapture of that moving average that we need to be watching for.
Another buy indicator here on the 0 DTE call. This is actually moving through the VWAP here. No position for me yet. Westcap here says, I believe when these guys are out of the way that Bitcoin's cryptocurrency will have a future. So you're thinking some of the promotion from guys like Saylor and Tom Lee is actually kind of suppressing it? And that when they get shaken from either their thesis or their position, then it will trade a little bit more freely? That's an interesting take. Oh, okay. Yep, getting a take profit indicator. That was quick. See, I prefer the 0 DTE trades when it has a little bit more length to run as opposed to just trying to get 15, 20 cents on the calls. You can work, especially if you buy them a few times. It's more difficult that way. This one here definitely just got a trim signal. Sergeant Sexy, I ran a comparison. You talk about more useful information. Good. Is there any more specifics that we can get on that? But that's good. Definitely want it to be useful. SPY bounce here. Okay, SPY's at the VWAP. S&P futures not yet at the VWAP. That test will actually be interesting too. We can move through that.
AZI back up to that VWAP.
AZI, that's one of the movers.
Still a bunch of sellers on the way once you get past $2. So, I don't know how great this one could be, but it's like I've been saying, just watch and see if this even is able to close above the VWAP.
Okay, so this strength has started to build now in the SPY. We are approaching the VWAP on the S&P futures. The SPY is pushing above the VWAP, and the trim indicator that I got has been negated now. I actually have 3 add indicators on the way back up. Interesting. No position for me. I haven't taken any of these. Your program is more useful during the day. Other programs talk about some BS. I'll tell you what, right? Just that alone means that we are doing something correct here. We want this to be useful. We can't possibly cover everything. Everybody's different, so I'm sure some folks are going to be disappointed. But Sergeant Sexy, that's a really good affirmation of what we're trying to do here. We want this to be useful to traders of all levels here. That's the goal. It's not easy.
Looking back at some of these previous movers that we've traded, like just maybe in this week or past week, DFTX having a pretty decent morning. It's had a nice almost $6 move. SAGTech, SAGT, that's up 13.5%. HSCS, Heart Sciences, up almost 15%.
Sorry to jump in here. S&P futures above the VWAP. This bounce as strong as the pull, it looks like, at least in its velocity.
It's a slow melt up. Maybe you get to a little bit more of a tough area once it's crosses 736.
I tell you what, I might need to amend the 0 DTE strategy a little bit to incorporate when we have these kind of outsized moves. We basically pulled from 738, maybe even a little bit higher, maybe like 738.50 all the way down to 730, and we've bounced back now to 735. The 0 DTE 734 call had a low intraday low of $1.05. It is currently 305 ask. So what's up?
Susquehanna gave Micron a $2,000 price target. Is that
now,
the first
we
one?
talked about this yesterday too, 13.
Yep. I think this is the first one. Do these folks even know what they're maybe they're doing that thing that we had our one analyst tell us about, where they're just raising these price targets to help people, their partners that are in this, get out.
So 13, I'm so glad that you reminded me about that. Let me really quickly expand on that. Alert me if you see anything going on with the stocks here. We have in our happy hour program, we have a retired stock analyst. He had been a actual analyst for like 40 years, 30, 40 years or something like that. Super bright guy. He was sharing yesterday how it kind of works behind the scenes for some of these firms that upgrade stock. And one of the things that they were saying is that after you have a big move like on Micron, like we had yesterday with earnings, one of the ways that they earn their customers repeat business is by saying, okay, great catalyst here. We're going to raise our target even more. And then those that have big positions in that name that want to get out are now given an opportunity to get out as the price moves higher on the back of the upgrade or the coverage. Now, that almost always ends in the stock selling off. That definitely creates bag holders, but the big holders of this get an opportunity to sell their position at a premium. They're going to go back to that analyst.
Yeah.
And I'm again a really good mention, 13, because that behind the scenes game feels a bit shady. But if you know what's going on, that might help you. Might be able to trade off of that instead of participating in it. So S&P futures look like they're kind of running into resistance here at the VWAP. Now the SPY is still above. It's actually back testing the VWAP on this little bit of a break here. We want to see the S&P futures move through that VWAP with authority.
Yeah, this bounce doesn't seem like it's got a lot of strength to go on. We're starting to see it fade already.
And I am, your timing is unbelievable this morning. I just got a all-out indicator on the 0 DTE literally as you were saying that. That was perfect.
I'm a computer.
Did you buy Powerball tickets last night? I guess that's what because that is really
no, but
good.
I probably should.
V Holman saying the Q's dark pool largest volume trade yesterday was at 7:10 after the close and the MU print. That's your new line in the sand. So 7:10, when you say line in the sand, are you looking at that as a possible support level? Like that's if it breaks that, we're going to go lower. If it stays above 710, we're okay. Here's what the Qs look like. I'll be honest, it overshot that by a couple of bucks, but we're back above it now. Expand on that, Holman, if you don't mind.
Looks like one of the movers, Mimi, found some support at the 65 EMA. We'll see if it can get back up through the consolidation it's been putting in all regular session. VWAP still resistance as well.
Here's Mimi on screen. You're right about that on that 65 EMA. Joe here saying, Ryan, I only learned this yesterday that Schwab and others allow you to sell expired SPY calls for 15 minutes after the market closes. So there are some of those ETFs where the trading in the options chain actually stops 15 minutes after the close. So you can actually trade some of that for that 15-minute window. That's been around for a few years here. By the way, pullback to the VWAP on the SPY triggered another buy on the 0 DTEs here. And it's flashing in and out of existence. Don't trust this one either. Dark pool doesn't disclose buy, sell. Sure, you don't. That's a private exchange, so you don't have debit and credit information. So there's no way that you can confidently say that. You can just guess. But it looks like the support is the way we swept this morning. Okay, so 710 on the Qs is the support. We basically swept all the way down. We overshot it a little bit, but we recovered it. So 710 looks to be a very key Qs level here today. Thank you very much for that. I don't follow dark pools really hardly at all, but I appreciate that information. That's good. So the chart formation now is showing you that the ES is finding resistance at the VWAP. So we want to see what happens from here. This is just kind of a holding pattern. 13, I don't see anything on any of these movers that look for decent trade setups yet. Okay.
No, I'm not seeing anything either.
Great.
I was just looking at BlackBerry because that one is still having a pretty good move for today. They just had earnings. They raised their fiscal year 2027 guidance. I still think that $12 is going to be a tough spot for them for now. I think this needs to come back in a little bit more. But I don't think that $12 is off the table for the rest of the year. I think that we'll see the other side of it later on, if we don't see it soon.
Lion saying Micron will get more upgrades and a higher price target, probably 16 to 1800. I wouldn't even write that out of the equation, and especially given what they said about their, orders being locked up to 2028 and beyond. I mean, we're early, so maybe we will get some more price upgrades there. You might even still get your 1100 today. Spike. Action right now, trying to figure out which direction it's going to go. ES still battling the VWAP.
That's a good question, and I think they do in certain aspects. Joe's asking if pro traders at Goldman, et cetera, the funds, have access to more up-to-date short interest info on stocks than we do.
So yes and no.
Right.
No, in the sense that short interest by regulation is filed twice per month. Those are the only official numbers. I don't care if you're Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, or Joe's Corner Bank or firm. It's all the same. Now, on top of that, there are also products and services that estimate short interest on a daily basis. I would assume Goldman Sachs has access to something like that. That would just be my base case assumption. I don't look at that, though. I stick with just the official numbers. I don't know if that's a bad thing. To me, it feels like the right thing to do. Also, what Goldman Sachs does offer is they have direct routing for traders that trade off their platform. In fact, in the happy hour, one of our former private equity veterans still has access to his Goldman direct trading system. And there we go. Plus, Goldman Sachs has access to all of their internal trading stats for clients. I've actually seen some of those newsletters, Anne-Marie. They are I wish I was a Goldman Sachs client. I'm not there yet. I wish that I was, because some of those reports that they give you with some of those stats that you're referring to are absolutely fantastic. Hey, Christoph, France versus Norway. That game is going to be unbelievable. How cool is the Norway fans doing the Viking row? That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
I've loved all the fans bringing their own little thing to the to the U.S. and just doing it around. So you got the Viking fans. I'm sorry, the Viking fans, the Norway fans doing the row. Of course, you got the Scots putting cones on all the statues. You have the Dutch, with the dance and their walk, because that was awesome. Walk right through Houston. Everybody's bringing their own thing, and it's great.
It's been absolutely awesome, start to finish. I just knock on wood that the security holds up and we don't have any catastrophe. Just knock on wood. Just that at this point now, the soccer's been so good. The people watching it have had so much fun and it's been so good. Just please let everybody be safe. Please. I heard the Scots drank Boston out of beer. Yes, they did.
Oh, they did.
They had to order emergency beer. 13 came on the next day and said they should come to Texas because we have more of it.
I mean, I the moment that dropped, I was like, Ryan, you got to see this. This is legendary. Like, this is like a meme come to life, like art imitating life.
Anne-Marie, they drank the plane on the way over here. They drank all of the beer on the plane. They had to move to wine to keep drinking on the plane. By the way, we did get, so the bounce now is continuing. So that battle at the VWAP, So far, that actually presented a buying opportunity. I did get one buy indicator on that. Oop, just got another. The SPY now pushing up. Let's see if we take out that other bounce high. I've got a resistance area. 736.50 is what I'm looking at. Having spent months in Scotland, I'm not surprised.
Am I still watching from yesterday? Sure. There's still more World Cup.
Oh,
or are you just concerned about the Scots losing? The whole reason I wanted them to win their group is so they could come and party with us in Houston, because that would meant that their group, them winning their group, they play in Energy Stadium. That was the whole reason I wanted them to win. Whoever wins, I think the only team that I really do want to win is the one that has been selected as the Oracle brother of mine. So, it's going to probably be England if he's right. But I just wanted to see the Scots in Houston. That would have been fun.
By the way, folks, the SPY is continuing to bounce here. Congrats to all of you that were patient trying to play this and waiting out that pull. We are basically, the SPY went green to red, back to green now. It's up by about 0.4%. And it actually looks like it has some upside momentum building here. We'll see if we can get back to 74.80 on the futures.
Oh, yeah. Well, Shiner Bach would make a ton. So would St. Arnold's. I think I would direct their attention to St. Arnold's if they came out here. I love that brewery. That is a great brand. Yeah, I saw that. That's right. They're going to have them over there in that the Gibraltar area.
Here, despite the loss last night, evidently the Scots still banged it out.
Oh, of
I got
course.
a link for you. The Tartan Army turned E11 into Scotland last night. Here's your link in the chat there. And that SPY bounce, I just got another all-out sell signal here on the SPY, and the ES return to VWAP.
We do have a National Tartan Day in the United States.
Do we really? When is that?
April 6th.
So we're gonna have to wait almost a whole year for that.
This is I was surprised that we even have this, but apparently this was something that's been a thing since 1998. It's meant to commemorate all Scottish contributions toward America, the Declaration of Independence. A lot of those signatures on there are from Scots. So.
Barb says, I just noticed that my TV YouTube for Benzinga Live is 5 seconds behind my phones. That just probably has to do with the connection on the device. You can always try refreshing to tighten that up a little bit. That works in pretty much all of the environments.
So we have a request here. Eric would like us to look at QMCO. They have earnings today after the market closes, and they have a pretty good looking chart here. Been on the recovery after finding a bottom around 420, 421. They recently had a golden cross back at the beginning of this month. Looks like we're getting some support from the 20-day SMA, and if we get good earnings, we're back up on the other side of 15, in my opinion.
Interesting spot here on your daily chart. I did not realize this reported earnings here. Good mention, Eric.
Yeah.
Lion saying, Ryan and 13, both of you are invited to the Morocco World Cup. Okay, you're getting us flights and hotels. That's awesome, Lion. I'll tell you what, those Micron profits really did come in handy.
So one thing with this company, they do have revenue. They aren't profitable. They have some pretty hefty operating expenses. I wonder if this. Yeah, I don't know. This is still not a profitable company. We'll see what they end up reporting, but I would think that there's going to be an issue with their cash position. Their balance sheet doesn't look great either. They got a lot of debt. So it looks like, it depends on how this earnings print plays out. I mean, that's going to determine whether they're on the other side of 15.
Boy, today really flew by. I was not kidding about having a packed show. Despite this sell-off and kind of the wild action here, This has flown by. We have less than 5 minutes left in the show here.
A lot of that was from waiting for this bottom, but we finally got it.
No question.
Finally got it, and it looks like the market is trying to figure out if it's going to turn around in some of these names or just go sideways. You might even get some better trading later on in the afternoon.
Yeah, and by the way, oil, which was down 0.8 earlier, is now positive by 0.8. So the move down here in the market also corresponds with oil retaking the $70 handle on the futures.
Trey, I think airlines are probably going to be one of the better plays after we have this, this MOU with this in the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think that this whole situation is over, but the airlines probably going to be one of the better ones to benefit off of that. We're opening up. It kind of opens up travel, makes it a little bit cheaper. Fuel prices. We now have Trump going after big oil for, according to him, gouging. So, I think airlines probably stand to benefit the most from that. I think that's a good spot, a good idea.
Lion here says, "Don't worry, Ryan. I'll feed you some good food." I had no doubt about that. We have a great tour, Marrakesh, Casablanca, and Tangier. I've always wanted to go to Casablanca. Of all the gin joints in all of the world, the ones in Casablanca are the ones that I want to go to. Can we go to Rick's American or whatever it's called? Rick's Americana?
All right, still getting some recovery in some names. Wonder if we are seeing some bottoming here. BlackBerry is now coming back in. Micron kind of just consolidating. I still get the sense that Micron could maybe trade lower, back down towards 1100. I think we need to get back above 1180. That would make me feel a little bit better about this returning, and going higher. Micron, if it gets back above 1180, because that seems to be the current resistance spot right now. Support going to be down just underneath 1140.
Barb, you're talking here about delays from broker to broker. That can be a very real thing. You could have the same internet connection, the same machine, but one broker just gives you faster quoting speeds. That's possible. I've heard reports of that. Play it again, Ryan. It's funny. They never actually say that line in the movie. It's the one that's the most remembered, but they never actually say it. It's like variations around that. Like Rick tells Sam never to play that. He says, if she can listen to it, then so can I. She says, can you play as time goes by, not play it again? It's really weird how that all works, but it's still a classic. Anyway, I'm digressing here. Sorry about that. We're less than a minute here, 13. Just a quick check-in here. The market is still kind of at the VWAP, or at least the ES is. It's slightly above it, but it's basically in that same area. We'll see if we have any strength here. Do you have any closing words for the group before we end it for today?
Well, I think this is the day where patience is going to be the virtue. Seems like there's still potential downside ahead. So if that's the case, then I think there's just some more waiting that we need to do in order to identify where the bottom is. So, folks, I think today is going to be one of those days. Just remain patient and let the trades develop. Don't try to force anything. If none of that sounds good to you, just maybe sit on your hands, and we'll come back here tomorrow. We'll find some more trades to be had. We'll make some more money. So until then, folks, take care. Goodbye.
Absolutely. We're going to close the week out strong. 13, take care of yourself. We'll see you on a happy hour later today and again tomorrow. Folks, that'll do it here for today. Thanks for joining us for a loaded show here today and observing the Micron after effect, if you will, the aftershock. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Go USA. We will see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.